Hello, friendly friends. Good morning. Welcome to Saturday Math. Oh, we do have some cool friends here today. Miss Kiki, how are you doing? You healing?
Uh, Sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
That's all right. I'm glad you're here.
Good to see you.
You too.
I only got about an hour in me because I have a golf game.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful out today.
It
So
is.
enjoy. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. And that's for anyone that's on here. You stick around for however long you need to. We are recording. So jump in and out if you need to this morning. I'm going to jump right in with a number today. And our number today, 41. And here's what typically happens if I'm offering a session or professional development or an event. The first question everyone asks is, what grade level is this for? So I want us to sort of unlearn that question because if I don't answer that and I put the number 41, you're like, oh, this must be kind of a primary math thing. Don't let the what we call stimulus, so a number, a symbol, a video, a picture, a story, anything that's going to stimulate mathematical thinking, we call a stimulus. Don't judge the stimulus, this number, by the grade levels that we're going to connect to today. Our goal today is improving number sense for students. And oftentimes we do it in a way that does not improve number sense. So I'm going to say a lot of things today that you may question, you may even disagree with. You're allowed to disagree. You can unmute. We can make this as interactive, informal as possible. Unmute at any time, ask your questions, give your comments, type your comments or questions in the chat because we are really going to explore the whole progression from preschool through high school with this number 41. And this is where I want us to retrain our brains into how we deliver our math content. So, three words that I'm going to use quite a bit today and actually over the next couple of months in preparation for our big annual June event that I'll talk about a little bit later today is, and you know what? I'll put them off to the side. I know you're not going to be able to, well, I'll show you and then I'll move my thing back over. There's a lot of things we need to unlearn, things that we were taught that limited our understanding and thinking. Because if I show you the number 41, first thing many of us are going to say is four tens, 1 1, or 20, four tens, 1 1, two tens, two tens, 1 1. We can start breaking this down into a lot of 10 based ways. But we're going to look at this 41 in a lot of different ways today because our goal is improving number sense for our students. So if I'm teaching high school ninth grade algebra 1, and if this is ninth grade algebra 1, these are kids that did not take algebra in middle school. They didn't qualify to take algebra in middle school. So pretty much they're kids that struggle with mathematics and have a history of struggling. The other identifying factor for these kiddos who don't take algebra until high school is their cognitive ability. Cognitive ability is a brain-based, I'm going to say, vehicle to help us not only understand number and mathematics, but be able to express it in lots of flexible ways. So there's a lot we need to unlearn. And then we need to relearn, which is really going to be a highlight for today. Again, I'm going to say a lot of things that you're probably going to disagree with. You're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to tell me you disagree with me. I'm going to say a lot of things today that you might question. And actually, I'm going to say a lot of things today that you might think, you know what? That's how I think and that's how I do it, but that's not how we're instructed to do it at my school. So unlearn and relearn. And then the final word is rethink. So before we really jump into some deep content today, I want us all to be open-minded enough to rethink how we're delivering our instruction. So welcome everybody. I know we have a lot of people, had a few people email me and say, hey, I'm going to be in the car. I'm going to be driving. I'm going to be listening, but that's all you get from me. We also have some amazing people in the room here, certified coaches. We have Krista, give us a wave. Teresa, Sarah, you don't have to give us a wave if you can't be on camera. Natalie, Sherry, we've got, I know Christy can't be on camera. And then we have, it looks like just a few new people possibly. So welcome if you are new today. And for those of us that are here every month on Saturday, welcome back. And you're going to get some new content today. This is going to mess with your brain just a little bit because those of you that have been to sessions before, I want you to think now about what task 41 relates to. Now, when I say this to some of our followers, if you're new, don't even worry about it. It doesn't even matter. Don't even worry about it. But when I say this to some of our followers, when I say task, I mean reference tasks. We have what we call a dirty dozen. So from preschool through high school, we have 12 tasks that teach all content, all math content. They're the same exact tasks in first grade as they are in seventh grade. Same exact tasks. Because what's missing in schools, the reason we have these big math gaps is progressions and consistency. So we want to be using some of the same tasks every single year so that kids get more interactions with those tasks. So if we want to create what we call cognitive classroom and really increasing students' cognitive ability, the brain-based ability to learn and achieve more, not just what you're born with, because we're all born with a certain cognitive function. They're all unique. Uh, you could be very neuroatypical, neurodiverse. You may have disabilities, ADHD, processing issues. You may have some form of brain disconnect. Doesn't matter. You still have this designated cognitive ability. And through these brain exercises that we're going to do today, your own cognitive ability should increase as well as our students. And again, we have to kind of unlearn some of the things that we're doing that create those wide achievement gaps and then relearn and rethink how to deliver our content better. So, question for those of you following today, those of you that know our reference tasks, what reference task does 41 relate to? So keep thinking about that. For those of you that are brand new, what I'm hoping you gain from today, and I'll get your takeaways later, and then if you have to jump off early, put a few of your takeaways in before you jump off today. What I'm hoping that you take away today is how something as simple as the number 41 can meet dozens of standards and how 41 can improve number sense if uniquely delivered in a way that creates, I'm going to say, flexibility, autonomy, choice, and creativity in our cognitive functions. Okay. Oftentimes, we as the adults don't think outside of the box too much with 41. Let me give you another example of this. So, now, again, I want you to pay attention to how I'm kind of opening this for you today as adults. I facilitate this a little different with kids. So with students, I'll say, tell me about 41. They'll tell me lots of things. Then as I facilitate, I'm not confirming or denying anything. I'm just letting them kind of verbally vomit. And then I'm going to give them some other sub stimulus. So if this is my original stimulus, something that's going to stimulate mathematical thinking, a stimulus has to have as little noise as possible, not the noise we hear, but the noise that gets in the way of sense making. If there's too much noise, if there are too many operations or words, or definitely if there's a question or a statement that prompts answer getting and solving, it's not a stimulus. Not that it's bad, it's just not a stimulus. A stimulus should not prompt answer getting and solving. A stimulus should enhance thinking, reasoning, and sense making. So it should have as little noise as possible to push kids to answer getting and solving. We are born to answer, get, and solve. So we can actually leave out a lot of the questions and prompts that push kids to answer getting and solving. We don't need to give the questions and prompts. So if you're using your textbook, your curriculum resources, the number one takeaway I want you to walk away with today is give your kids the problem, but don't give them the question or the statement that prompts answer getting or solving. Just give them whatever the problem is and say, tell me about this. What do you notice? What do you see? Gain their perspective first. The only way I can do responsive teaching, which is actually what I'm going to do today after I'm done yapping at you, and I'm going to get some of your input. But in order to do responsive teaching, I can only respond if I gain your perspective and then teach to that perspective. The way to do that is to remove a lot of the noise, especially the questions and statements that are going to prompt answer getting and solving, so that you can think, reason, and sense make. So when I say tell me about, you can tell me about a lot of things. Now, many of our students, they're going to create their own questions and they're going to give you answers and solutions. And we're going to respond with, that is interesting. That is really brilliant. Oh, that is quite thoughtful what you said. So we not only have to get good at providing the stimulus, facilitating through that stimulus, and then I'm going to give some sub stimulus here that are going to scaffold back to the stimulus. Not only do we have to do all of those things, but then we need to be very deliberate and intentional with our responses when students tell us about. So there's a lot of room for error in our instructional facilitation. So I want you to pay attention to how I'm facilitating. You're going to get a copy of this recording, and I want you to listen to the first 15 minutes of today 3 or 4 times. And I want you to listen for, what did I say? What did I do? How did I do it? How did I say it? And how did I then tell you to respond to it? So there's so much that I just packed into this 15 minutes. Some of you just heard womp, 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 womp. But I want you to re-listen, re-listen, re-listen. Because as we're facilitating to our kids, there are some wrong ways that are going to widen the gap and are going to decrease the potential for improving number sense and cognitive function. So my sub stimulus. So see, I wouldn't facilitate it with kids that way because I'm kind of opening the curtain and saying, okay, this is how and why I'm doing these things to you. So I just want you to pay attention to that. With kids, tell me about 41. I get their responses. I don't confirm or deny. I'm like, that's really interesting. I could say, tell me about 41 using exponents. Boom. You see how this went from kindergarten, first grade, and now I'm like, oh, shoot, eighth grade. Tell me about 41 with exponents. Tell me about 41 with square roots. Do you see? When I finalize my tell me about, my favorite 3 words, tell me about, when I finalize that tell me about with whatever prompt I want to give, with whatever extension I want to give, now we've opened it up for a lot more standards. So if you're standard calculating today, and I said this simple little number can can help students learn dozens of standards, start marking those standards off. Exponents, um, powers, exponential function, tens and ones. part whole. So think about the standards you teach and what tell me about phrases we can give to students that are not going to be answer getting solving, but are going to help them think, reason, and sense make. You're probably doing it now. Now that I said, tell me about 41 using exponents. You're like, oh, that stimulates me a little different. So here's some other sub stimulus. 41 is or is not like 51. Ha ha. So I'm going to mess with you a little bit here. Now, this is how I also facilitate for kids. I say, you know what? I'm going to give you some other numbers. I'm going to mess with your brain. I'm going to totally mess with you. This is going to be a completely different kind of thinking than what typical math is. So I'm going to tell kids that. I'm going to tell them they're going to be a little uncomfortable. So is 41 like 51 or not? And are those numbers like 91 or 93? Like which numbers should be classified together? Now, if I'm working with primary kiddos, these are all numbers that I want them to know how to separate and break down. But as we get to third, fourth, fifth grade, I want students, instead of thinking about 9 tens, 3 ones, or 45, 45, 3, or, some of those whole number breakdowns, I want kids to start to think of these numbers in a multiplicative sense. Here's one of our big mistakes that minimizes the potential for math achievement and is a barrier to improving number sense. One of the mistakes that we make is we hang on to addition way too long. We try to solidify additive reasoning. Additive reasoning is not complex at all. So if kids are not mastering addition or part whole or additive situations, one more, one less, two more, two less, 10 more, 10 less, you've got to move beyond that before mastery. You've got to move beyond it before mastery. We can master those things through multiplicative understanding and function. Let me tell you how we can do this. As kids get into fifth, sixth, seventh grade, if I'm giving a number, let's say like 15, and I'm going to put that number over here because 15 is one that's not like the others. Um, I typically break into song, so I mean, if you want to unmute and, partner it up with me. So 15 is kind of not like the others. But if I have the number 15 and I say, tell me about 15, as we're moving into third, fourth, fifth grade, I want kids to start thinking of 15 multiplicatively, not just 3 times 5. Okay. Then as we're moving into fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade algebra, I want them to think of 15 as the output of a function. The output of a function. Remember, I said don't stick on additive too long, +1 -1 +2 -2, because I can get back to additive mastery through function. So I'm just going to give this away. I'm not going to let you mull on it. The number 15 can be 7 times 2 plus 1. 7 times 2 plus 1. So it's one more than a double. 15 is one more than a double. So see, we stay with primary kids on this one more, one less, two more, two less, this additive thinking way too long. We could pick it up later. I want kids to start thinking of these things in terms of multiplication. Now, multiplication doesn't typically come till grade 3, grade 4. I like to start this idea of multiplication in K1, 2, and what task allows kids to experience multiplication without calling it multiplication. That would be our reference task, making rectangles. So if students have had experience making rectangles, they know that 15 cannot make a rectangle with two towers because I'm going to either have one too many or one too less, which is the pure essence of an odd number. So in my primary grades, what I want kids to do to get ready for multiplicative thinking is to make rectangles with these numbers of blocks. Okay, so here's your instructional facilitation in first and second grade. You're going to do the stimulus, these sub-stimulus, and then you're going to say to them, hey, we're going to make rectangles today with this many blocks. So you're going to get 93 blocks in your group, and you're going to make as many rectangles as possible. Now, the default rectangle is for 93, the default rectangle is 93 by 1 and 1 by 93. Okay, so we've always got that default rectangle, two rectangles, really, if you want to be technical. And so, are there any other rectangles that can be made? Kids can play with blocks to try to figure that out. Now, being 93, 93 is kind of like 15 because I can't make a two tower because I'm either going to have one too many or one less. That's the pure essence of odd number. So if I go back to 15 over here, when I say a two tower, if I make a two tower, okay, two columns, they're going to each be 7 high. Okay. Now we also have
In a quarter mile,
a
turn left at the
very,
second road onto Clumpney Boulevard North.
there we go. Hi, Amy. We heard your directions. In a quarter mile. Don't miss that turn. Focus, girl. Focus. Hey, pay attention to the road. Why you got your video on? Turn the video off. I won't ask you questions. You get too distracted. Turn your video off. No, you can leave it on. Leave it on. We like to see you driving. All right. We're on 15, Amy. We're on 15, and we're trying to make a rectangle with 15 that is two towers high. Now we need 7 in each tower if I want to model this function, times 2 plus 1 times 2 plus 1. And there is a way that we separate these into sevens. And this is our paper folding task and how to divide up a bar. This task also improves number sense. I'm not going to go into the technique today, but just know what I'm going to do right now is an entirely separate chunk of teaching that is essential for you to do with your kids to improve number sense. We're not going to do it today, but I want to show you the outcome. If I want these split into sevens, I'm going to kind of tick mark or eyeball the exact middle. Because if I want 7 parts, I can't draw a line in the exact middle because 7 is an odd number. Then I'd have 4 on one side, 3 on the other. So we do a technique, if I want 7 pieces, called share the middle. Now, as kids do this technique a lot, they start to realize how large or small to share the middle. So with 7, I'm just going to kind of like eyeball it here. I got to share the middle. I got to share the middle with one space, but that means on either side, I need 3 and 3. So I'm going to kind of think of that in my head. Do you see how this uses such deep number sense? So you doing this exercise, just dividing up, basically these are number lines. If I have a vertical number line, and here's my top tick mark and my bottom tick mark, and I want to divide this into 7 parts, this is the technique I use. We kind of eyeball the middle, and then we have to share the middle, but small enough that the 2 spaces on either end are larger because I have to fit 3 parts in there. Okay? Oh, Matt's driving. Good, Amy. All right. Hang out with us then. All right. So I'm going to share the middle here like this. But then each of these parts, I have to do 3 and 3. Well, 3 is an odd number, so I share the middle again. I share the middle on both sides. And then I get really nice, almost equal parts by going from the middle out. So the bar model and paper strip are other reference tasks we use. Not going to get into that deeply today, but they are the scaffold. They are the instructional exercises that help kids break up number lines. So I can't draw a line right in the middle if I want 7. I have to share the middle and then break each of those parts into 3. So we don't want to divide up number line from top to bottom or bottom to top or left to right, right to left. We want to always start in the middle. Now, if you're an intervention specialist or if you know an intervention specialist, I caution you because what happens is oftentimes the intervention specialist will say to the classroom teacher, I'm just going to make an accommodation. I'm going to make the bars for them and I'm going to make the number line for them because they can't do it. Nicole, you have learned so much, girl. You don't want to do that. You want them to struggle through it and you want them to learn. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough for adults. I watch teachers create number lines, breaking them up, and then they have to erase some or redo it, or like even us as the adults don't have that skill because we weren't taught that skill. See, these are the things I need you to unlearn. And I just taught you a relearning, dividing up a bar, dividing up a number line. That is an exercise kids of all ages should do. And that is going to improve number sense dramatically. And I want you to rethink what this is going to do for kids. We don't want to give this to them for them. We want to give them I gave you explicit instruction how to divide those up. Okay. So our special ed people are going to love this explicit direct instruction. Explicit direct instruction says we need 7 parts. Go ahead and divide it. I let the kids play and mess up a lot. Then I come back and I'm like, look, here's what I want you to do. Mark the middle, share the middle, large or small. If you go back and listen to that part of the recording, listen to the explicit instructions that I gave for kids to attempt to be successful. And they're still not going to do it right. So this is where we need them to do it over and over and over again. If you want to create a cognitive classroom where you're improving cognitive ability and cognitive function, you know just as well as I do, repetition is everything. Daily repetition is actually not the best. Spaced repetition is. What that means is if I have a technique called dividing up the bar or dividing up a number line, I'm going to do that once every 2 weeks or once a month. I need kids to get that repetition, but not all in one condensed chunk. One condensed chunk, even if I do it 3 days in a row, really only counts for one interaction. We know that our most struggling kids might need 40 to 200 interactions with the same thing before they have forever learning, before they know it forever, before it sticks. So when I said earlier, they're the same tasks, the same exercises from preschool through high school. That's what we're missing in our schools and districts is we're trying to do something new each year and kids aren't getting enough interactions with the same thing. Dividing a bar is an exercise. We need lots of interactions over time. They need years to develop a good essence of how to do this. So another takeaway, go back to your schools and say, guys, if we do nothing else, we have to teach kids how to create equally spaced interval number lines by using the start in the middle strategy. That was not today's lesson at all. That was not today's lesson. But you see, I started with this stimulant. We're going to keep going back to this 41. But here's what I want you to notice. Look at everything that was facilitated from this 41. I can't give you a worksheet for that. Do you see? I can't give you like this, like, here's the lesson plan for that. It's these interactions that we have on Saturdays or on Wednesdays or at any of the events, any of our interactions together, that you will get the lesson plan for this. Now, if this is your first time with us, second time with us, maybe third time with us, this is still very overwhelming. It is a complete rethink of facilitation of instruction. You might leave today being like, that is not for me. But we as adults need interactions over time also. Give us give us 27 chances. because oftentimes that's how long it takes. That's how many interactions with this. Now, those of you that have been around for a while, this is a little different progression than what you've seen. So let me stop now and let everybody process for a moment. I'm going to go back to the comments. Unmute, give me your thoughts, comments, questions so far. Oh, Sarah, we're beautifully sunny here today. Kiki's going to the golf course. It's fantastic today.
Hey,
Oh, you know
Jolly.
what?
Go ahead.
Nicole, I'll let you go in just a minute. Sarah, I wasn't thinking pizza problem. This could be a very good pizza problem with square root 41. Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
I just wanted to let you know that we got our assignments for next year.
You're not saying that very happily.
I've got mixed feelings.
Okay.
So I usually am a resource teacher. I have my own
Yes.
class. I do my own thing.
Yes, you've been able to experiment and do a lot of implementing of this stuff.
Yeah, and math is my stronger suit than ELA, which I love math. So next year I get to be in inclusion math only and two ELA classes that are different grades, fourth and fifth.
Okay.
So I have fifth grade math inclusion. Now, the teacher that I am going to be teaching with, he's never done any of this. I think he would be open to this. So my first reaction was, I just spent $1,000 on tier one, and now I can't even use it. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I can be that little piece that he teaches the main lesson, and I teach that little piece of like, your 6 minutes or how many ever minutes of, you know, repeated, teaching throughout the year. And then also like the learn forgetting, the, coming back to it kind of piece. So
And I think it's going to be easier because you're going to get the outside view. You can note take, okay, what's my little 6 minute mini lesson from all those chunks you just mentioned? Look at you. You are now a chunk teacher. But what I was going to say, Nicole, you have a new role and a new hat that nobody has assigned to you that I'm assigning to you. You will be his coach.
I
Okay.
I can probably do that.
You can do that and you will do that.
My only issue is that I have
Ah,
trouble teaching other
go
people like
ahead.
adults. I think it's because kids are easy to
I
teach.
know. I know.
Adults, I get nervous about making sure I use the right wording, that I say it the right way. The kids don't know any better.
Exactly.
Adults might.
So we got to get him connected with me. We got to give him a little dose of Jay-Z. Okay. And then we'll go from there. But you have a new role. I mean, this is really the point of once you start becoming a consistent follower, your job then is to share the message, to get more people on board. I mean, I can't do this by myself. And really, this whole unlearn, relearn, rethink, this is an entire movement that is only going to catch on if there are more of us firing off the movement. So, Nicole, yeah, you've just said it perfectly. Think of all those chunks. I mean, dividing the bar, boom. Number line is everywhere, especially in fifth grade, fraction. I mean, so we can continue to work together on how you will coach him without him signing up to be coached. So there's a way, and this is good for everybody too, because if you are an intervention specialist, math teachers can be like, don't tell me how to do my thing. You know this. So, what is a good opening of the door? Hey, you know what? I follow and I go to this Saturday math. There are some really cool techniques. I'd love 6 minutes with the kids 3 times a week just to show some of these techniques. Um, it's really going to be important for filling these gaps. use the phrase necessary for some, beneficial for all. Okay, that's the whole dyslexia science of reading, but it really is for science of math. So there is a way to kind of give an option, but not an option, and be confident in that. That classroom is just as much yours as it is his.
What was that again? Necessary for some,
Necessary for some, beneficial for all.
beneficial.
Necessary for some, beneficial for all.
I think
So,
he'd be open to it because
good.
he was on board with the whole amplify. We were talking about that when we were
Mm.
doing it. That whole we didn't end up getting it.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
There was some majority that were
It's always the
chickens,
majority.
but we were talking about how necessary it is for that conceptual learning of it, not just the procedural, and that we've got to get that, get towards that for that the new wave, the science of
Science of
math.
math. Yeah.
So I think he'll be open to it. I
Well,
think
here's
especially if I
another.
just kind of lead into, hey, can I do this part? And then let him see how I do it and then get him reeled in. And then I can say, hey, I can tell you more about this.
I love it. Here's another opening of the door with him is to say, hey, you know what? I know we didn't get Amplify, but I am a part of a consortium, a cohort. I've taken a course that is really the Amplify style that we can use with any curriculum. And I'd like to bring in 5 or 6 of those pieces. So, like, just be confident and aggressive in your own knowledge. Like, this is what I'm coming to you with. This is how we can connect it. And this is what I can do. So, yeah, let's keep talking about some of those phrases because, once he's on board and enrolled, it's all good. All good. And then we'll just get him in, we'll suck him in, get him to a Saturday math. Okay. All right. Teresa, great point with 41. What numbers can I skip count by that are going to land on 41? Beautiful. Bang, boom, bam. Yep, share the middle and exactly in the middle. That is a whole lesson that I teach kids at the beginning of the year. And I also have some slide decks that have the facilitation in them. Here's what I need to do. When I follow up with you guys, I'm going to make a note on what I'm sending you. I'm going to send you the replay. I'm going to send you your certificate for today. Because today wasn't included in yours, Nicole. So I'll send a separate certificate for contact hours today. And I'm also going to send you one of the slide decks that have the share the middle and exact middle facilitation. So I teach in slide decks, and to help others implement, the slide deck is set up that you just show each slide to students and it kind of prompts how you facilitate. Yeah, quartiles, box plots. Yep. Oh, that's good. You guys are just going back and forth. That's good. Oh, yeah. Okay. You guys are just having fun here in the chat. Good job, guys. Oh, great. Cruising Courtney. Oh, Sarah, I don't think Sarah can. Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Okay. We're caught up. Any other thoughts, comments?
Donnelly, just because number
Teresa and then
wise,
Natalie, go ahead.
um, you don't put numbers beside your lines so that there's no numbers there, so that doesn't confuse them.
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. So that's another whole hurdle to achieve.
Okay.
So I haven't even finished this here because we only have 14 spots and the number is 15. So I haven't even put the bow on that. Like, it's a whole ordeal just to divide up the pieces. Like, that is sweat and tears. Then, if I'm actually doing this lesson, then I'm like, okay, we got 7 parts. What is going to be our bottom number, our top number, and I can change that. I mean, here's what's really kooky is I can make this bottom number -5 and the top number 5. Like that would be really crazy now. And then I'd have to do 7 skip counts to get from -5 to 5. All of those counting techniques that we use to build number sense. Now, typically I can go 0 to 1, and then kids are going to count the lines though. There are 6 lines and they're going to want that to be sixths. So we have to talk about the space, how many spaces, because technically, even though there's 6 lines in the middle, there's 8 lines if you count the top and bottom. So kids have to get in the habit of counting the spaces. And this is like when we ask kids, one of our target questions is, how much time is it from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m.? And kids want to say it's 3 hours because they count 1, 2, 3. So if 1 o'clock is my 0, and I have to skip count to get to 3 o'clock, how many counts? That's going to be 2 hours, 2 counts. Counting the spaces is really a struggle for kids. They want to count the lines. Number line is the most abstract way to build number sets. If kids can conquer number line, they have a very good number sense. If students struggle with number line, that doesn't mean they have a weak number sense. Number line is the most abstract. So when we're using number line to assess and the majority of our kids don't get it and we get really down about that, no, just because they don't get number line doesn't mean that they have gaps in their number sense. Number line is very difficult and complex to understand. So there's a lot of false negatives with number line assessment. There are no false positives. If kids do number lines accurately a lot of the time, that is a very strong number sense. But here's why, or actually here's how we get kids to achieve number line. Look at this. A number line, our intervention. So Nicole, this is really key for you. Anytime your classroom teacher is doing anything with number line, making the bar model over top of that number line to make it 2-dimensional. A number line technically is just 1-dimensional. That's really difficult for kids to see. But our intervention that we use for number line is we draw the bar model right over top of it. So see, that's the progression of scaffolding that we use. So just by drawing this bar over top of it, kids are going to be like, oh, that's sevenths. There are 7 spaces. They see those spaces better when we put the bar model on top of it. Now, prior to the bar model, kids need a lot of experience with concrete sensory paper folding, and then they're going to be able to divide up the bar. So there's a whole backwards progression and scaffolding leading up to number line. Again, that wasn't today's topic, so I'm doing a very bad job of facilitating it. I'm basically showing you the outcomes of that type of instruction, which I'm not teaching very much today. But to go back to this bar model, remember our number was 15. We only have 14 here because that was the 7 times 2. That was the 7 by 2. And then we have the +1. So we've got this +1. Now, technically, ooh, this is fancy pantsy. Technically, I could do 8 times 2. And if I did 8 times 2 for 15, then what's the other part of my function? -1. So remember I said, tell me about 41. For our younger kids, I want kids making rectangles with 41 blocks. Then we can go to grid paper. So see, we want kids to use blocks. We want them to touch and feel. High schoolers have no idea what to do with blocks. You can tell a high schooler that has weak number sense by giving them blocks and having them make cubes or patterns because they're like, what is this? which shows me they have not had sensory experiences in math, which is why they struggle. All right. So we've got to get kids to play with math like every year, especially the older kids. Once we play with blocks, then we use grid paper. So semi-concrete, representational. We have concrete, semi-concrete is our grid. And then we have the abstract, which now we're relating our block building and what we're drawing. I could have and should have drawn this on a grid, but then I wouldn't have been able to do the share the middle thing. So a lot of times I want kids to have blank paper. So, oh, there's so much I want to say. Calm down, John Lee. Go back. Just finish your thought. A lot of times I want kids to have blank paper. I don't even like them to have lined paper in math because I want them to be able to draw things like this and create equal parts. Kids can't do this. Kids can't do this. Just the act of forcing them to struggle through this to get good at it is going to improve their number sense. Then we get to the abstract. But the abstract now is based on this. The height of this is 8 tall. And if I have two of those 8 tall, I actually have 16. So I have to take away one to get 15. There's the missing one. But if I have 7 of these tall, I have 2 of those 7. I have 2 of those 7 plus 1. That is the pure essence of odd number. All of my primary kids know, because we do so much of this, that anytime I have an odd number, it means that I have a +1 -1 situation with a 2-tower rectangle. Now, the reason that I show that is because I wanted to make the point that when we live in addition and subtraction world, +1, -1, +2, -2, +10, -10, when we live in that world too long with primary kids and we never get to this multiplicative, we never get to making rectangles and arrays and array numbers. If this is my array number, what are the lengths and widths of those arrays with 41 blocks? How many different rectangles can I make? This is what's going to improve number sense because we have a visual for all of this now. And 41, or the number 15, simply becomes a function. This now can become a generic function, x times 2 plus 1. So my function could be times 2 plus 1, or I can write this as 2x plus 1. So 15 is a 2x plus 1 situation. What other numbers are 2x plus 1 situations? Now, as I said earlier today, oh yeah, 4 squared minus 1, boom, bang, bam, boom. So in these situations, one of the questions I usually get is, well, what grade level is this? This is every grade level. This facilitation is going to lead to targeting your standards, but also as a group effort is going to lead to improving number sense. So in my 2nd grade classroom and in my 5th grade classroom and in my high school 9th grade Algebra 1 classroom, everybody's going to introduce 41 at some point. Then we're going to look at some other numbers. Then we're going to go off on these facilitation tangents. Remember, if you haven't had a lot of interactions with us, you're going to leave here today and be like, there is no way I can do that. I don't even know what, like, I love it, John Lee. Like, I was stimulated by it. I see what you're doing, and I know that it's beneficial. I don't know how to do it. Again, all it is more interactions over time. Stay with us. Stay with us. Keep following us. So we've got these numbers. So we've got 41, 51, 91, 93, 15. I just threw those numbers out because I want to know which of these numbers are classified together, which ones are like the others. Now, to go back, now notice I asked that and then nothing. See, I asked that And then I'm like, okay, that's how I facilitate with kids too. I just leave that lingering. Because here's what happens. Your higher level kids, oftentimes, like your gifted kids, that might be in the mainstream classroom, your higher level kids that feel like they're never getting challenged. If you just ask some questions and give some prompts and just leave them to linger and come back to what's at hand here, they have something to keep processing and keep thinking about. Even our most struggling kids, okay? Our most struggling kids, when I leave that go, one of the biggest barriers for our struggling kids in math is they don't have enough time to process and think. And then we train them. This is a learned behavior for them to sit passively and not think because they can't think fast enough. So then others think faster, others answer it, the teacher confirms or denies it. Everything is going so fast for those struggling students that they just check out. We've done that to them. We've done that to them. School's done that to them. It's not their fault. So, another huge takeaway from today is as we're facilitating the stimulus at hand, and we've got these other sub stimulus. Now, this one I facilitated through, but now when I go back and I say, okay, which of these numbers are alike and which ones are different, I let that linger because now our subconscious starts to take over. Our struggling students finally get time to think about things without being rushed. Now, it's not going to happen overnight because if you've got sixth graders that have been trained in our system for years and years and years, it's going to take 25 to 30 days of this type of instructional facilitation for them to finally not be skeptical and finally be like, okay, she is going to wait for me to think about it. What happens is 20 minutes later, one of my struggling students will go, I don't think 41 is like 51 at all. And I'll be like, where'd that come from? I mean, we were off on like a textbook problem by this point. But you see how they can continue to think. We have we have trained kids to not think. Anyway, okay, hold on. Just I get on my soapbox and I get okay. So 41, let's get to some content here. I did make a slide deck for today. Oh, you're welcome, Sarah. I missed your. Yeah. I'm looking at comments. Um, oh, Terry, you have a good question. I'm not sure I completely understand it. Could we use, is that 82 times half or 82 and a half or I wish I could understand. Just give me a little more on that. So yes. So okay, Terry, this is another good question. Should we be considering prime or composite? So here's the thing. I am as the instructional facilitator. But notice I've never said that, and I've done that on purpose and intentionally. So me as the instructional facilitator, yes. So I'm going to answer this for you because you guys are adults. So 51 is a really special type of number. It's one of my favorites because it is a number that we often think is prime that is not. So this is really my whole this is the background planning. Like you've just got inside my brain. I mean, that's a scary place to be. But that is why I facilitated the way I did. But you notice I never said that. So in my mind, I'm gonna be thinking that. And because I know that I want kids to have that, like, we know that there are certain numbers that have lots of factors and a little bit of factors. But yes, I mean, yes, you've nailed it. Perfect. Oh yeah, 82 times 1/2. could that be? I want to answer your question. I don't think I'm understanding it, and that is on me. Could we use 82 times 1/2? Anyway, she's typing. You can unmute if you want to.
That's so much easier.
Yes.
When you were doing when you were doing the blocks, and it was you said it had to be two towers and one would be one taller. But if you made fractions, then you could have equal towers.
So this is so good. This is so good because if my towers are fractional heights, do we consider the number of blocks an even number? So this gets really deep. So let's suppose for a moment. So I've got 7 and 7. Let's suppose this may not be your question, but I like this. I actually like where my brain is going. This may not be where you wanted my brain to go. But if we have, let's say, 7.5, two towers of 7.5, how many blocks is that? We're good with 15. My height is 7.5. We still have 15 blocks. If I can make a two tower, does that make 15 an even number? So that's fancy. And so, no, I love it so much. Okay. I'm going to share. I did create a slide deck for today. And you will get this. Okay. Oh, hey, there's my 41. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I forgot to even mention this. Okay. Our 10th annual June math event is coming up Thursday, June 5th. Pack your bags and get to Ohio. Pack your bags and get to Ohio. You do not want to miss this. Today is like a simple preview of what this full day will look like in June. Now, today is much more scattered. Saturday maths are much more nonlinear. Like it's like the ADD event, okay? Because I just go all over the place, which is really the way I believe that math should be experienced and like massaged. But at our full day 10th annual June math event in person, this is for preschool through high school, instructional coaches, principals, curriculum leaders, intervention specialists, paras, you name it. And we are going to focus on improving cognitive function, cognitive ability for mathematics, using science of learning, cognitive science, learning strategies. And certain outcomes are some of the things that I've mentioned today: increase memory, maximize achievement, improve number sense. So each part of the day will be another stimulus technique that we can use to improve number sense, but also connecting this to our standards. So we have at Minds on Math levels that are for grade bands that have certain colors. You will get that level color folder with your specific stimulus for your standards and what it looks like at your grade level. So it's a much more linear, one-to-one, streamlined event. You will also get audio files of me teaching these kinds of things in real classrooms with real kids. So we have collections of hundreds of audios of any stimulus, any reference tasks with all grade levels. Those audio collections will be there You'll get access to that as well. And you can register. I'll send you the flyer. Let me put that on my list in my follow-up email. I'll make sure you have the flyer. But there are group discounts. If any district sends more than 10 people, it's only $250 a person. We can get that set up for you. Okay, so anyway, 41. I digress. I digress. All right, here we go. You ready for this? What reference task does that relate to? Okay. We have a reference task called quick dots, and there's lots of variations of quick dots. One of the variations of quick dots is called purple X. This actually is stage 2 of our purple X pattern, our purple X function. Now, if you're seeing this for the first time, this is great. No problem. If you're seeing purple X for the 532nd time, you're going to be seeing it in a different way today. Because stage 2 of purple X has 41 dots. Okay? So if this is the first time you're with us today and you don't know purple X, the number one way to improve number sense and overall math achievement is to have students see numbers. If you work with gifted kids or you know a gifted kid, they see numbers. I am not gifted. I was not gifted mathematically in school. I was what they called a bright kid. Those are the ones whose parents think they're gifted. Okay? These are kids that just mimic and memorize and work really hard and perform well and get good scores, but don't really have an understanding. So a truly gifted kid will look at 41 and see all the combinations of 41. Just like when we were looking at 15 and Kiki, you were like, oh, 4 squared. Yeah. We and our students are going to start to see very creative ways that numbers are visualized. Right now, our students don't see that. They look at 41 and they're like, 4 10s, 1 1. And that's as far as we go with them. Oh, yay! 4 10 sticks and guys, that's like monkeys can pull 4 10 sticks and a 1. Okay? We've got to get beyond that, even with our most struggling kiddos. So we've got to give them options of seeing numbers in different ways. Now, I can say to them, tell me about, I can have them do the perspective. I can give them grid paper. If you give them centimeter grid paper and a bingo dauber from the Dollar Tree, bingo daubers daub nicely right into the centimeter grid paper. You can have them create this. I mean, that is a feat in and of itself. I'll tell you why in a minute. You can tell the kids that have a strong and weak number sense by saying, go ahead and create this purple dot pattern on grid paper. Put X's for the dots or circles or shade in the block or use bingo daubers. So I'm telling you there's 41 dots. Now I could ask, how are the dots arranged? How would you count the dots? What would you count first? How many chunks are there here? That could be another question. Instead of how many dots, how many chunks? Now, if this is stage 2 of purple X, this is stage 2 of the pattern, then this is stage 3 of the pattern. Watch these things shift. Stage 2, 3, 2, 3. You see how important visuals are in mathematics. There is no curriculum resource. There is no textbook. There is no math program out there that does what we do with our slide decks to teach mathematics. None. So then how many dots would be in stage 3? Now, those of you that know Purple X, this is a different perspective. I'm delivering this in a different way today. So you're going to think about this differently. Those of you that have never seen this before, you're getting sort of the linear streamlined version. So again, if there are 41 here, and that is stage 2, how many are here in stage 3? Yeah, type your answers in the chat. Let's chat it up. Let's chat it up. That was a dumb song. I don't even know what that is. I'm usually better than that. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Terry, you are gifted for sure. Because again, the way that Terry put that in the chat, see, this is X. Hey, see ya. Oh, Kiki, enjoy. Love you, girl. So the way that Terry put this in the chat, if you're looking at Terry's, is this function mentality that we did over here. I think the first time the standards, at least in the States, in most of the states, I think Canada has similar standards, but the first time the standards, I think, actually say the word function is like grade 8. I mean, don't quote me on that. I mean, don't come at me, okay? But the thing is, we need to start getting kids to think in terms of function in grades 2, 3, 4. And I showed you how to do this, okay? It's kind of like when Terry, when you said about these numbers, do we have this underlying foundation of like prime composite? Yes. But see, prime composite doesn't come until about grade 4. But if we wait until grade 4 to present the conceptual experience, kids aren't going to master it by the end of grade 4. You see, we need a whole systematic approach of how we're delivering these things. We want to build functional thinking using rectangles and pictures far before grade 8 when function becomes mastery. So that's why our kids are not mastering by the end of the year. That's why state test scores are dismal, is because we're introducing a topic the same year it has to be mastered. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, it's not in my second grade standards. I can't teach function. Yes, but in your second grade standards, you're doing arrays of 8 by 4. And where are we getting these 8 by 4? Because it looks to me like these chunks have 9. Okay? So see, arrays in second grade are exactly this picture. But if I show stage 2 of the picture and stage 3 of the picture, we're looking at arrays now with overlaps, which is also an improvement number sense exercise. And we are looking at a growing pattern, which is rate and function. And then, is this purple X growing in a linear way or a nonlinear way? Do you see all the standards that I'm targeting with this? And now in first grade, we're just replicating this and we're asking kids to count. Yes, absolutely. Kids with disabilities are not going to see those overlaps. So when we ask them, okay, make stage 3 on the grid paper, they're not going to have this overlap circle. They're going to have 9 and 9. They just made a different pattern though, so that's super cool. So we can call it Purple X modified, where you actually do have a bunch of chunks of 9. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a paper with this already on it and have them place manipulatives. I'm going to have them place blocks onto these dots so that they can see there's only one block for both of these chunks. But I have to have them discover it. I have to give them an exercise to do to have them discover. Good. Yeah. First graders, Amy does this with her kids all the time. The overlap, they share a dot. They share a dot, so we can't count it twice. So when we're looking at this, the way that my brain as the facilitator was guiding you through this was starting with that original inside part, that 9 piece. Okay. And then what happens is I'm adding on to that. And what I do to add on to this is I'm not going to be able to grab just this chunk. Nope, it's going to grab all of it. But I can grab all of it. That's fine. And if I move this away, no, I don't want that. Okay? You can see this dot moves away. So what I want to do is I want to be like, nope, wait a minute, fancy pants. We want to leave that dot there. So what I can do is I can start to move these pieces around. That's what our slide decks do. Our slide decks are golden for lesson facilitation. So then you can see this 9 and then 4 chunks of these 9 minus 1 missing. So if I was at stage 2, so if I move this back here, okay, so if I was at stage 2, I added 4 more chunks. 4 more chunks of 8 is where Terry got the 8 times 4. See, now function becomes this visual. Coming up with explicit rules for functions like 2x plus 1, kids just read the picture now. All right? We're going to look at another pattern. We're going to look at another pattern. Here it is, 0, 3, 8, 15. I'm not going to get your interactions, but I would say to kids, here's my favorite 3 words. Tell me about this pattern. I would gain student perspective, blah, blah, blah. Tell me about these numbers. See, that's a different prompt. Tell me about the pattern. Kids are looking at the growth. Tell me about these numbers. They're like, oh, there's individual numbers there. Oh, shoot. There's that number 15. Remember when we did the 15 with the 2 towers and it was an odd number and it was a times 2 minus 1. And then we talked about the 7.5 times 2 thing. And see, kids start associating individual numbers now with experiences, visual, sensory experiences. These associations are what increase memory and retention of content for our kids. I've just taken you all through a journey today, through an experience. Now, I've taken you through this experience. I did not lay out the step-by-step way for you to facilitate it. That's why, as an adult and as a teacher, you might leave today going, that was exhilarating. I love it. John Lee, I totally agree with you. I can't do it. I can't do it. Be patient, interactions with us over time. You'll get better at it. You'll unlearn your old ways. You'll relearn these facilitation strategies, and then you'll rethink how you deliver lessons to your kids using your textbook and curriculum resources that you already have. You don't need a new textbook or curriculum resource. I know, a lot of schools up for adoption. We have to pick something new. It doesn't matter what you get, okay? The underlying exercises, experiences, and techniques can and should be done with any textbook curriculum resource, okay? So tell me about these numbers. 8, okay? 8's fun, 3's fun, okay. Tell me about this picture. And how does this picture relate to this pattern? Now I'm going to let you unmute and talk to me. Unmute and talk to me. Come on. Come on, come on. Turn the radio on. There we go. There we go. See, I am better. Come on, tell me about that picture. Terry, you're going to love this. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to get this to you, Terry. Do we know each other?
I don't remember meeting you. I'm sorry.
I don't either. I don't think
Okay, I'm
where are
down
you
in
from?
Clarington, down in Clarington, Ohio.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, nice to meet you. Hey, stay connected
Good
because
luck.
you are fascinating.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Terry, you're gonna like this. Okay. I'm gonna make sure you get this. We have a whole Purple X. We have a whole course called Purple X. If you go to
Okay.
disabilitylabs.com, you can find the Purple X course there. But what it comes with is when you said you should have started with, the way that I facilitate is through these pictures. So oftentimes our students with disabilities, they can't see once we cover it up. So we have lots of adaptations. Sherry Daughter is our brain boss, classroom coach in the house. Sherry Daughter, and she is by trade occupational therapist, neuroscience expert. She'll be at the June math event. And so we have an entire course for Purple X, but what it does is it teaches you step by step how to actually facilitate for kids because oftentimes we facilitate the wrong way because we know so much that we just lead kids to think like we do, but not in a way that they feel like they discover it that for themselves. We're like, oh, let me tell you and show you because this is so cool what I found out. But telling and showing is different than them structuring it themselves. So we start to show them the association with the picture and the math sentence. But what's really cool, Terry, is we start to look at it in different ways. And then once we go totally to the abstract, then kids can start to create the explicit rule for the function. As we generalize, we start to look at what is the same and different in each. So we help kids create that 2x plus 1 situation. This is real. This is really if you teach middle or high school, especially high school, and by the time kids get to high school, they either have a gift of creating the explicit rule for the function or not from a pattern. If they don't have the gift where they just see it, then we have to teach them procedures like, okay, find the difference in the X's. If it's a, if it's for the first difference, it's a linear situation. So it's an X. If the second difference is the same number. So we have to teach these procedures to help them identify how to structure the equation or the function, the expression, the explicit rule. However, we know that step-by-step procedures and algorithms are the worst way for our special ed kids and kids with disabilities to have access to the mathematics. So what we do is we give them these visual experiences where the visuals are directly associated to the abstract. Then once we get to the abstract, we can be like, okay, now you have stage 1, 2, 3. How would we write the explicit rule for the function? Well, look, the 9 is always there. The 4 times 8 is always there. The only thing that changes or varies is how many of the 4 times 8 chunks. So the explicit rule for the function is 9 plus x, the variation, times 4 times 8, or 32x plus 9. Linear function, because it's going up by 32 each time. I digress, but I wanted to show you that, Terry, because you are fascinating. I really like you are hot stuff. You're hot stuff. I'm going to say it. You're hot stuff. Now, we also have another reference task where these numbers are related to Jesse's money. So on day 0, Jesse has no money. Day 1, Jesse has $3. Day 2. Now, if you're familiar with reference tasks, you're like, holy cow, look at all the reference tasks that are coming in and being associated here. If you don't know Jesse, forget it. You don't need to know Jesse right now. Okay, so those pictures are this pattern. Okay, so tell me about that pattern now. So this isn't Purple X. This is a different pattern now. I started with the numbers again. Yes, it is. It is. Finding what things are constant, what things change, what things vary, and then we use that symbol to represent that varying component. Yeah, great connection with that. So what can you tell me about this pattern? Because it really is this pattern extended. Because how many dots are here? We have a 4 by 4 minus 1. That was Kiki's 4 squared situation. So 4 by 4 minus 1 is 15. That's our 15. So the next number in the pattern is going to be however many blocks this is. And then the next number is this. So these numbers, now I'm going to tell you, I don't give this away with kids, but I'm going to tell you, these numbers are perfect squares minus 1. Now, kids are going to see that because they're going to be like, oh, those are all almost a square. My third graders, they're like, those are almost squares, but they're always missing 1. They're always squares, but they're always missing 1. This is pizza problem. Okay, see, one of our other tasks is pizza problem. This is pizza problem minus 1. Pizza problem minus 1. So even my younger kids are like, these are squares minus 1. My algebra kids now, I'm going to be like, oh, this is all the perfect squares minus 1. That's the problem. You don't have a constant rate of increase. The increase here is 2, or sorry, John Lee, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Kids want that to be a consistent increase because it's increasing the increase by 2 each time, but the number is not exactly the same. So the first difference is not the same. The first difference is 3, 5, 7, 9. The second difference is the same. Okay, between 3, 5, 7, 9, the increase is 2, 2, 2, 2. So if I go out to the second difference, it's the same number. So structurally, we know that this pattern is going to be an x squared situation. It's going to be a quadratic. See, I can teach this concept to kids well before Algebra 1. They can look at these squares minus 1 and be like, this is an x squared minus 1. They can write x squared minus 1. And that makes total sense to them. Or they can write x times x minus 1, if we're not getting into exponents. But do you see the power of math achievement at high levels and kids having access to this through these facilitation techniques? So the goal of my 41, yes, was to look at others' numbers that are like 41. Is 51 like 41 or not? Is 91 like 41? Is 93 like 41? 15 is more like, if we wanted to list numbers like 15 is like 27. So I want kids to be able to see numbers and be able to start classifying them. And right now, in the majority of our classrooms, kids do not have this cognitive ability and this cognitive function. They did when they were born. They did when they were born. They did when they were toddlers. But then they got to school and we started doing this school math stuff. And it negated all of the amazing number sense and cognitive abilities for mathematics, the cognitive aptitude for mathematics. It negated all of that through our training techniques. So there we go. We end on a downer. You're welcome. All right, friends, thoughts, comments, questions?
Hey, Jenny.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about how, to facilitate it, like you can't tell us exactly how to go step by step because it's all about interactions. And this is me getting out of my linear brain.
I love it. Love it. Talk to us, girl. Talk to us.
And
Preach.
as I'm watching the videos, I'm like, but but where is it where you show us how to do it? And I'm starting to think, oh no, that's not how I should learn how to do this. I should learn it the way, I can't word it right. I should learn how to facilitate the way you're facilitating to us and also through the recordings. But my question is sometimes I get lost on piecing everything together through like the modules that I have for the tier ones, but then also where else to get the other stuff. So that's my question is how do I get a hold of like the modules for like that, was it the first 30-day or the first month or
Okay, yeah.
that part?
So first 15 days.
First 15 days. Thank you.
So those are just slide decks at that point.
Okay.
So I can get you access. So Nicole, and I want you to have access so you can start thinking, let me put 15 days. I will, so okay, let me say this. At the June event, every level, every grade band is gonna, well, actually everybody's gonna get all of them. But the first 15-day slide decks are in leveled versions. So, like level, I don't want to make a mistake. Level 7, I think, is green. I don't know. But there's certain grade bands. You'll know what those are at June event, but I'll give you kind of an insider view at that, Nicole. Actually, Nicole, if you and your cooperating teacher that you're going to be with, if you guys could get to the June event, oh my gosh.
I don't know if I can get him to that. I'll talk to him about it.
Talk to him.
And
I'll send the
I'll talk to him
flyer.
about like what I want to do for the next year, and say, hey, it would be really helpful if when, if he's on board with it, it'd be really helpful to go to this. That way you get an understanding of what I'm going to be talking about and doing. And but again, it's 450. So, and I don't know that we're going to be able to get 10 people, but
You know what?
I'll just
You
have to
just
find
work
out.
with me because we will wheel and deal and get you guys there. You know me.
Okay.
It's all good. Um, but I say that, Nicole, I'm gonna get you all of the leveled slides anyway because you're you. But those are just slide decks and I don't do any teaching on it. Now, on the Minds on Math website, if you go to mindsonmath.com, there is a training on there to purchase. I don't know that I would recommend that you purchase anything else because I can give you the slide decks and you'll have it. But the Math in a Month is the January version of First 15 Days. And it actually is a 2.5 hour training with the slide deck on how to present the slide deck. But you've been trained on the how to. If you have the first 15-day slide decks, they kind of walk through the facilitation. So I wrote a note to get you I have one sample first 15 days that has all the facilitation pieces in it. So when you turn to the slide, it'll say, like it'll literally say on the slide, on the next slide, I'm going to show you a quick dot. I'm going to show, so it actually tells you what to say. So you don't have to think about what to say. You don't have to think about what's next because then the next slide is like, now we're going to relate that to squares. Tell me about. So you don't have to think about this whole progression. Matter of fact, I've never really done this whole progression in order before. So like there's always a new training. Krista, you were shaking your head, but if Krista, you have any feedback, I mean, you're like you're so experienced that you could teach all this. But what did you see differently today in the facilitation that maybe you've never seen before? Maybe nothing. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's I don't think if I've ever seen you go through one session so linear. And it just helped me like the quartile connection. And some of the things like my kids are struggling right now with scale factor. And when you were talking about like each block being only a half and how many blocks would we need to make this actual tile on our grid paper or whatever, like it's just I'm connecting things a little differently now than, and it was just that change in that facilitation that sort of sparked some of those connections that me as a teacher was having a hard time. Like, how can I make this even more concrete than what I have in the past? So it kind of broke that loop, if you will.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And I really, because you know this, Krista, I have been consumed with planning the June event, like the slide deck, the sessions, the content that I'm going to deliver. Um, I mean, it takes months to plan a full day event like that. And so as I'm planning June event, I'm thinking about the facilitation of that as well. And the June event, we are actually going to go 45 minutes, 15-minute break, 45 minutes, 15-minute break, 45 minutes, 15-minute break. And each 45-minute chunk is going to be a different focus. So it's really going to be like 5 or 6 mini sessions within, but they're going to all end up being connected. Now, to plan that takes a lot of strategic thought, and that's what I've been working on right now. And so as I've been working on it, this type of linear progression and the exact numbers and the exact content and the exact exercises have become really dominant. So I'm really glad that you noticed that. That's really great feedback for me, because that's what I want the June event to be, is something like this that is perfect for the first timer, but also enriching for all of you veteran experienced people. So that's good feedback for me. Other thoughts, comments, questions? And if you have to go, don't feel bad. It is 2 minutes after 11. But any
I have
other
a
thoughts,
question.
comments, questions?
I have a question for Nicole. Are you able to get in with this teacher now before the next school year? Or is this all going to happen in the next school year?
It's going to happen in the next school year because right now I have my own classroom and there's no way for me to get in there and like do anything with the current class or anything like that.
Well, I would suggest even going in and doing a lesson with to show him what you would do. Like even if you brought your class over and did a lesson and just showed him how you would facilitate that lesson, only because then it would give him a taste of what you
What it
do.
would look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can ask him and see if there's like, it'd probably be more like after testing because we got testing
I
coming up
Yeah,
next
I
know.
know.
week
Yeah.
We're
until
in the midst
it's,
of that as well.
yeah. But no,
Mhm.
that's a great idea, Teresa. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe do some kind of combo class in May. And I mean, that would put you on the spot because you're going to facilitate something.
Yeah, I'll have to
Actually,
get my big girl pants on and just gear up for it.
Nicole, you know what we could do? And I
But
don't want to like steal your thunder and take this away from you. You know what we could do in May is I could zoom in and facilitate like a 30-minute lesson
oh,
if you combine your kids with his kids for one class period.
okay. I can definitely check with them on that one. That'd be
You
awesome.
could be like, hey, I follow this girl. I've done this stuff. She's offered to do this, but since we're going to be working together next year, I'd like to combine our classes, and she's going to present like a 30-minute thing.
I think he would probably go for it. Let me check with them.
No problem. Look at me.
All
I'm
right.
always committing to things like this that
But that's because you're so awesome.
I'm an
You
addict.
really are.
I'm an addict. That's all there is to it. I'm an addict. All right. Other thoughts, comments, questions? See you, Natalie.
I tell my kids that numbers are fun to play with, and this looks like more playing with numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't do enough. Hey, you're welcome, Jamie. We do not do enough with just playing with numbers. And I think oftentimes, especially for secondary math teachers, um, it's perceived maybe as a waste of time because I have all these standards to teach. But when you play with numbers in connection with the standards, that's when it becomes very powerful. But us as teachers, we wouldn't know to do that. We weren't taught that way. We weren't, as a matter of fact, some of us actually thought this way in schools, and the teachers wouldn't let us think this way. So we got all of that untrained out of us, that natural ability for playing with numbers, and then we never give kids the opportunity. And now, like Saturday maths, this is our opportunity as adults to play with numbers. I mean, this is an opportunity that maybe we haven't had the experience, our brain has, because we're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Oh, but I have to go do real math. This is real math. And so these Saturday sessions are really for us. Selfishly, it's for me. I love them. I love you guys coming. I love the conversations that we have. I love your input, your feedback. It's very stimulating for us as adults. We don't often get put in those situations. But the goal of these Saturday maths is to give you all the tools and inspiration to replicate these experiences in your classroom, which some of you are already doing and doing phenomenally well. And so then you come to Saturday math, get another little piece, get another little tool, another little tweak. But yeah, we just often do not give kids enough time to just play, learn through play. And that's really what our model does. We learn through play. Lots of our play are with blocks, grid paper, and dots. And through blocks, grid paper, and dots, we can improve math fact fluency. We can improve understanding perfect square numbers, powers, rate, function, ratio, fraction, number line. There are so many foundational things that our kids struggle with that we can improve through this process. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right. I will follow up with this recording, the flyer
Hey,
for the June
Jolly,
event. Yes.
sorry, I
No.
actually direct messaged or messaged Sherry for this, which is a good question to ask her, but I thought I was, sending out to the chat. It says, can the June event count towards our science and math requirements that we know will be required, like the reading was? Because in the reading, or the science of reading, sorry, we were required certain amount of hours. Is this something that can count towards that, or this is just your version of like teaching
You
towards it?
will get 6 contact hours for the June 5th day event. So we are not formally approved.
Okay,
However, there aren't technically formally approved. It's a really gray area right now.
right.
And we we definitely have the content to be approved, and that would be an additional conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but you will
I
definitely
just wasn't sure if it was already like one of those things that is approved. So
no,
that's what I was just checking.
nope.
Okay.
And you will get 6 contact hours though. So, yes, great question. All right, friends, I want to thank you for your time today. You all are perfectly fantastic. And we have one more final Saturday math session. The registration is not up yet. Saturday, May 3rd. Um, and on Saturday, May 3rd, no, scratch that. That's our in-person. Our virtual Saturday in May. Wait a minute. Do we have another session? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't think we do because I'm going to Disney. So
Nope, just Impact Wednesday.
Impact Wednesday is Wednesday the 16th. That's coming
Mm-hmm.
up. And we are really going to focus on this unlearn, relearn, rethink. Let's see, Impact Wednesday. Let me get that. Oh, I can't minimize my Zoom space. What is that? I've never seen that before.
Because
Anyway,
you're recording. It doesn't let you minimize if you're recording.
oh my gosh. Whose rule is
So
that?
I'll see if I can find it, but I'm not gonna have the pretty link like you do.
Nope, I've got the link right here. I don't need to minimize. It was just going to be more convenient, but whatever. I'm going to copy the link for Impact Wednesday. It is free. It is an extension of Saturday Math. However, Sherry brings us the adaptations, accommodations, and neuroscience. So, Impact Wednesday, coming up this Wednesday, April 16th, is from 7 to 8 p.m. So, the link to register is in the chat. Go ahead and click on that. Come on over to Impact Wednesday. It's only an hour, it's not 90 minutes like Saturday Math is. We are going to relate to these same ideas but through the therapy neuroscience perspective and how so much of what we need to do that's beneficial for kids, we need to unlearn ourselves first. Anything else you want to say about that, Sherry?
No, you summed it up pretty well. Uh, yeah, everybody come and find out a little bit about neuroscience behind what you're doing in mathematics.
Cool. All right, y'all. Get signed up for the June event. I'll follow up with all of these resources. Give me a couple days to do that. And then you will be off and running. And if you have somebody to watch this video, share it. So I will be in touch and you guys are awesome. Have a great weekend and we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.